welcome to yet another episode of Hopeful Resistance. I am Sarah. This is my son, Aaron.
Hi.
And we come to you weekly, letting you participate in our discussion about all things hopeful and all things resistant. And essentially, we have been spending more and more time trying to make sense of the batshit craziness of the administration, the current administration of the United States government.
Yeah.
And there's just so many
Many
things.
things. Yeah, so many things.
And
Uh
this, yeah, Aaron's going to show you the shirt. We have a shirt now.
Oh
So,
yeah. I need to
well,
me
yeah, we'll do that
yeah.
in a bit, or someone can bring it to you.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if someone can bring it to me.
So Aaron and I talk during the week about the fuckery that is going on in the world. And this week we decided to start talking and explaining the HR1 bill, commonly known as the Big Beautiful Bill. But we're going to call it HR1 because we are not going to give it that honorific name because it does not deserve it.
Nope. Does not deserve it.
It does not even by any stretch of the imagination deserve that name. And so we want to have HR1 for dummies, basically. We feel like we need to understand what's going to happen. We need to understand what's in this bill. We want you to understand what we think we understand. So
Yeah.
today we're going to start the three big things that we hope to cover are the changes to Medicaid, the immigration control, basically a summary of how the budget changed and the focus changed on that. And then the laughable, in my opinion, tax on tips section of HR1. So many things. I mean, here's the shirt.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. You got to see the shirt.
Thanks.
We're going to make these available for public consumption.
Consumption.
So here's the front with our big old logo on it saying hopeful resistance. Yay. The back is like the best. So many things.
Yeah.
And,
My wife watched it, so
well, thank you.
yeah.
We washed pretty good.
Yeah.
These are special long sleeve ones we got for ourselves, but we are going, and our guests, but we are going to make some short sleeve ones with orange logo and orange on the back, available at some point in time in the future.
Yes.
Okay, so
Where to start?
I'm gonna let you
We
lead the charge into the
it's like
madness.
we know where we're. Well, I guess the question, the side of it, because we talked a little bit before we started about kind of all the changes, and do we want to hit on the eligibility changes, or do we want to hit on the access to, really, they call it Medicaid access for intersex and trans people, but I mean it's based on what I understand, it's going to be a bit more than just Medicaid.
I
So
honestly want to start with the intersex trans issue.
yeah.
And I want to start by saying it's heinous that our government and MAGA and Christians are just so fucking preoccupied with what's in other people's pants, particularly when we're talking about less than 1% of the population.
Yeah.
If you are watching, listening, and you are part of the trans, intersex, LGBTQ plus community, my heart goes out to you. So Aaron did some top level research, high level research, I suppose I should say. We're doing a 50,000 foot view here because there are
Yeah.
so many things.
Yeah, it's a huge bill. I mean, you
So
can
why don't you
they
start with
called it
that?
what they called it. Do what?
Yeah, start with that section.
Okay. So, a lot of these are just notes that I wrote down. I'm gonna try not to read them strictly, right? Because I have an understanding of it, but I am gonna try and make sure that I stay on as on topic as I can.
Listen, I made
So
notes
the
because I don't want to be running down that.
yeah, yeah.
So
So
please
the so
stay.
the yeah, the three big things is that they banned gender affirming care under Medicaid or CHIPS. They removed the ACA essential health benefits section, and I want to talk about that, in more detail. And then they also they narrowed the definitions for biological sex. They
Because there's
basically just
so
tried
many
to.
scientists that are in Congress. Uh,
Yes, I always forget about I always forget about my congressman, the scientist guy. No, he's uh. So okay, so obvious. So the first one is, the first one is, I guess, kind of obvious. Oh crap! I am worried that we don't have your sound again. I think I broke it. Hang on.
I can hear you.
Yeah, I'm worried about people being able to hear you again.
That would be traumatic, actually. Catastrophic.
Okay. I I'm not. I'm hoping, but I'm not sure if you had if your audio was coming through this whole time. So I.
You know what? There's somebody watching, and if they don't chime in, we can ask them to chime in if you can hear us both.
Yeah.
Pay someone to
Because
watch the
I feel like
show.
maybe I feel like maybe I was coming through and I'm just so worried that you weren't. And I hate whenever I miss
You know
that
what,
stuff.
Aaron? We're gonna pay someone to watch the show every week, right at the beginning.
Yes, yes, at least for the openings. So that way we can get past all my
Give
engineering
you ten
mishaps.
dollars to watch the show.
Just show up and just tell me, hey Aaron, you have no audio. You really suck at this engineering side. And I'm gonna go, I know, I'm
We're gonna
aware.
fire you as the technical director, right?
I know. Well, maybe if you actually, if you, and maybe instead of us paying someone, maybe all of you, maybe the person watching, you just get as many friends as you can to watch, and then we could just get to a point where we could just pay someone to do it professionally instead of me,
Gosh, there's a thought.
instead of me,
A lot of pressure, though.
stumbling around. Um, so I sorry to recap. We're gonna be talking. Mom walked down the list. Mom, do you want to walk back down the list just in case, just real quick on what we're gonna.
Just in case we had no audio at the beginning of the show, we are going to talk about three big things. The first one are the changes to Medicare, and again, these are 50,000-foot observations. We've tried to do some research that is meaningful and impactful just to get the gist of this. And so Aaron's going to talk about big changes to Medicare. I'm sorry, Medicaid. I'm going to talk about immigration control changes in this HR1 bill, and also the silliness of the no tax on tips.
Okay.
Um, Start
So
again. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
so what we decided we're going to focus on first is the changes that HR1, also known as the Big Beautiful Bill, uh, what it did in terms of access to gender confirming care for trans and intersex people. So it was originally under Medicaid. It was just all covered, right? If you were on Medicaid and you were transgender, you were able to seek gender affirming care, and Medicaid would cover it for you if you qualified. Um, what they kind of did is the federal government basically just decided that they're not going to match funds for it. So what that means in technically is that it just they used to match the state and now they're just not going to do that. And so it's still with there's some point out that like the states could still pay for it, but it's highly unlikely that they would. So it is in effect a ban, I
And
guess, unless you
did
live in a.
you happen to do research into what gender affirming care are teens getting? I mean, we're talking about gender affirming care for teens. I mean, they're not getting sex change surgeries. Teenage.
So generally, gender affirming care for teenagers was mostly through puberty blockers, hormone therapy, and in very rare cases, surgery. There's a lot of arguments.
So rare that I can't even find percentages on that. Like
Oh yeah,
of
exactly.
1%. It's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
exactly. Matt Walsh was on Joe Rogan's show some time ago, and Joe Rogan said like, "Oh, how common is this? Like, how many people is this happening to?" And Matt Walsh tried to be like, "Oh, well, if I had to guess, I mean, there's probably millions of kids." And then he goes and pulls it up on screen on the show, and they're like, "Oh yeah, between 2014 and 2019, only 4,000 kids."
Receive
And
gender
then
affirming.
yeah, Yeah,
That
and
is
then
not surgery. That's gender
that's
affirming care.
yeah, and then Matt Walsh goes, I mean, if I had to guess though, it'd probably still be in like the thousands.
Because my
Like,
understanding, based on what I could find on NPR, PBS, um, Harvard research, stuff like that, it was like point. Wait, hey, let me see if I can find it. Hold on. It
yeah,
was
I mean
like
it's
164,000 kids were eligible, and it was 0.1%.
right.
So what are we talking 10? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, well, and that's the thing too is surgery. I mean, so puberty blockers are a pretty common one, and then the right has like I said, the right MAGA has this crazy notion that if you take puberty blockers, that oh, there's all this horrible side effects, and it's like, I mean, no,
no.
um, I mean, just based on my research that I've found that is not true. There are some cases, obvious. I mean, there's exceptions to. I love they do this all the time. Well, there's an exception. I want to talk about in general, and I go, yeah, me too. So in
Yeah.
general,
So in general, and so I think the important thing is, let's say 4,000 kids in 5 years.
yeah,
That's 750, 800 children a year get
roughly, yeah,
puberty blockers, and who know, I don't even know what all falls under gender affirming care
yeah.
for kids under Medicaid.
Yeah,
Uh,
and I mean, and if I remember too, originally they only wanted to have it where like the block would basically only be for like youth, and then a representative, I thought I had his name written down, a representative from Texas.
oh, why did I know it was from Texas?
Yeah, he had to come out and just be all like, no, we need to make it for everyone. And so whenever it was pushed through, that's ultimately what wound up happening is now it's just no gender affirming care at all under Medicaid
And I think while I could, I mean, I can,
for
I
trans people. I guess just for clarity for trans people.
okay,
Well,
right,
we
because they did the narrow definition of what sex you are.
yes,
And so if you are getting a boob job or reconstructive surgery or whatever, and you're a woman, that's fine. Anyway, I think the more important issue for me is the small number of people we're talking about. I mean, talking about such a negatively targeted population and all this effort and energy, it's kind of like the immigration issue for me. We're and we'll get to that in a bit. Okay, so the other thing
no,
I want you to talk about, based on the notes that you and I shared, is this also changes. They also changed this for people who are not on Medicaid,
yes.
and that's
So
a big deal. Is big or bigger.
Yes. So the ACE, so for anybody that isn't familiar, the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare, I will henceforth be referring to as the ACA, because the ACA is like the technical term. I just know sometimes people aren't aware that like what
Uh,
of the ACA or and Obamacare, they think they're two different things, or they don't under. So it's
and
those are
I'll
the
tell
same
you,
thing.
the other crazy thing is that people are on Medicaid and don't realize that they're on Medicaid. They're like, "Oh no, I'm on Tennessee Care, or I'm on Californiacaid." It's like, does the AID at the end of that not like
It
hint?
doesn't give you any indication of how
Yeah.
that program works. But yeah, so the ACA, it used to be that the ACA, so the ACA had something called essential health benefits, which was basically written in saying that insurers would cover X things, right? That they would be required by law to provide care for like obvious things, right? Like if you have cancer, if you have, if you need a transplant, whatever, like they were required by
Heart
law to
surgery,
cover. Yeah.
whatever. Right.
But that's why it was essential health, right? It's essential health benefits. So that was the point of it. So it used to be that um, gender affirming care was a part of EHB, which is the essential health benefits. And the bill HR1 actually removed that requirement. So insurance companies are no longer required to provide gender affirming care. Now, I just want to say this so that we're all on the same page. That doesn't mean they won't. It just means that they're no longer required to. And we all know how insurance companies work.
I was like, there, and they're gonna jump up. They are gonna be standing behind a
Well, what's
conversation.
that?
Don't
We don't
have.
have to spend any more money. Yeah.
They'll barely pay for things that they ought to.
Yes.
Okay, so we talked about and again, folks, we are at this super high level, not getting into a ton of detail about each thing, but we want to be sure you're aware of these things that are in there. So we talked about the intersex and trans coverage. We talked about the change to non-Medicaid insurance. I'd
Hmm.
like for you, I think one of the things that was on your notes list was the working hours and eligibility, which is just such a clusterfuck.
Yes. And before we go to that, there
And
was,
send
sorry.
another thing.
Yeah, there was just because you mentioned it, and I just wanted to make sure that we like dove into it just a little bit. They also codified what genders are.
Yeah.
So they strictly defined what biological sex is.
How did
So
they
that way,
codify? I mean, what was the language?
yeah. So it basically that they limited sex to what sex you were assigned at birth.
Okay, can we have a whole show about that? Because I have had so many nurses who have been in the birthing rooms who are like, they've looked at babies and they couldn't tell. They just couldn't tell from the genitals, is this a boy or girl? And they would wait a little bit and then they're guessing. They're like, well, it looks like a boy. The nurse in a lot of cases, and I'm not slamming nurses, but they're saying, I don't know, I'm just looking and it looks like a boy or it looks like a girl.
Right.
But then later on, DNA test or genetic testing or some internal physical sonogram or whatever reveals, yeah, no, that is genetically a boy. So you're assigned a female at birth, but you're really a boy.
Right. Well, and I also know that what they do is they they are dependent on like sonograms, right? Because a lot of parents they want to know what the sex of their baby is before the baby's born, and so they'll use that sometimes, right? As like as another way to be like, so you're having a boy or a girl, and then people, if they know, they'll just be like, oh, we're having a boy, and then that's how they assign it. So
Yeah, so
yeah.
I mean, science, like I feel like we're back in the Middle Ages, like I'm arguing that the earth is round.
Oh no, hang on, that didn't go away. People are still having that
We're
argument
still
today.
talking about flat earth. Well, and the other thing is you've got people saying, well, there's only two genders, X and XY or whatever. I'm like, you flunked chemistry. The only reason you passed was because, you were on football. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, and it's it is always such an aggravating conversation to have, really just in general because people don't know what the hell they're talking about, and then whenever you start drilling down that path, especially the chromosome path, you're like, well, how are we going? So what are we gonna do? We're gonna have what fucking blood tests things outside of bathrooms? Like I'm
such
gonna
a
have to go.
natural fucking business. And
Thank
if
you.
someone says, I'm a guy, I'm a girl, oh, okay, works for me. And I want to, and another thing, this whole thing about who goes to the bathrooms is got zero to do with trans people because may I just point out that women are not worried about a transgendered person. They're worried about a cis male dressing up and coming in there. But all for some fucking stupid reason, it's the trans person's fault.
Yeah.
You're not
Well,
worried
yeah,
about
and
a
that's
person. You're
and
still worried about a cis male.
well,
Still,
and it goes to me it always goes like a step crazier because I've always pointed out the arguments like I mean that, they could just walk in there now. Like no, like okay, fine, we make it illegal to be trans. There's still nothing stopping a man from dressing up like a woman and going into a woman's bathroom.
thank.
At
I
what we
want.
make it illegal.
I
It would be illegal if he went in
want.
there
I want to
as
have
a
a whole
predator anyway.
episode about that. I want to have a whole episode about that.
Yeah. So, yeah, I just wanted to hit on that last bit because the biggest people that last change is going to affect is intersex people because we're talking about gender affirming care. The obviously it's going to hit trans people, but it's also going to hit intersex people because for the same reasons. I mean, like they've narrowed the scope so stringently that
Well, there are probably people who watch or listen, all 35 of them, who maybe some of them don't even know the difference. So we probably ought to have an episode when we talk about the bathrooms, talking about the different uh,
yeah.
types of gender and identities and
Yes. Um,
so
okay.
many. Mm.
Thanks. So true. So the next thing that you mentioned is the work requirements. I think everybody, if you watch the news, if you read New York Times, really, if I don't know how you consume your media, you might just be hearing it first for the first time, but they changed the work requirements by giving it. I think the definition is interesting because now it's just community engagement, right? So they're not even talking
I
about
could,
working. Yeah, because so in that
that's
includes so it
that
includes
was what I
paid
was going
work.
to ask you is do they have to
Yeah.
be working because most of people on Medicaid are working. And what does that say about the employer that you have employees who qualify for Medicaid?
Right. And so I sorry, I heard that and my brain was processing it as I was getting ready to start talking. But yes, yes, that's such a it's such like that's the bigger problem. But we're
Yeah, but let's go after the trans people because
yeah,
God forbid they have some sort of the all 1,000 a year of them get some sort of gender affirming.
and
And here
and
it
we'll
is in the language. It says right here. Um, qualified activities include paid work, community service, education, or volunteer activities.
right.
And now, how many people are they going to have to hire to keep track of that?
Yeah. Well, and yeah, and yeah. So and the states are going to have to be the ones that keep track of it, which to me, okay, to me that makes sense because the federal government is not they're
Oh,
trying to shrink right now. I mean, we're not trying to cut the deficit. I don't want it to sound
well,
because
let's
we're
be
not doing that. What we're
yeah, but let's be honest. Who who does it? I mean, how does it matter? Okay, in the big scheme of things, whether the states are taking it on or the government's taking on, you've just increased bureaucracy.
yes.
It's irrelevant from my perspective who takes it on, the state or the country. You've just added another layer of bureaucracy. Needless.
Yeah, well, and the way that they've extended this, I mean, the part that I've seen kind of repeated over and over again is that by about 20 like in the mid 20 early 2030s, so I mean not even 10 years from now, you're going to see about 5.2, I think it's like 5 point between like 5.2 to 6.8 million people losing Medicaid.
This is why these conversations that we're having are so important. This is not happening. Okay, this is 20, it's July 13th, 2025. The changes that we're talking about are not even going to go into effect. When does the trans stuff go into?
So the trans uh gender affirming care that takes effect January 1st, 2027, which is right after the
22nd.
midterms.
Let's talk about this, folks. 2027.
Yeah.
So
They
it's
they, they planned that after the midterms because they knew that it would damage
but
if
here
it's not happening right now, you know what I mean? Sorry, go ahead.
turn down another rabbit hole. Can't because if there is a gun, they are going to lose. The Republicans are going to lose so badly during the midterms.
They're trying not to,
Will
but
there be something that the Democrats can do to change
yeah,
any of
yeah, they could pass they could present and pass another bill,
it? Okay.
like another act. And that would be tough because obviously if they were to write a bill that would overturn a lot of these changes, Trump would try to veto it, and then they needed two-thirds to overturn the veto. We don't know. That's why it's super important that we get out the midterms. It's super
Oh,
important that you're calling that. I mean, if I'm calling my reps, even though I know they don't give a fuck, I'm still calling them. So
right. That's how it should be
yeah,
because it doesn't matter. So
because
January,
they're trying to change the lines in a lot of places and do
well, at
recensuses and all
some point
kinds
in
of crazy
time,
shit.
they're going to have to pay attention to the fact that they are on the wrong side of history.
Yeah,
So
and I
January,
think it's interesting. Sorry.
that's okay. It's how we talk.
Yes, it is. January 1st, 2027.
Is when the intersex trans section applies. What about the
Yes.
working requirements?
My understanding is that a lot of this
Same thing, January.
is I think the same thing.
Okay,
Um, there's not been any. I think they've left it ambiguous because obviously they don't want it to hurt their chances at midterms. So
right.
and as we know, some people there's We get it. There's a lot going on. You're not able to keep track of everything. Some people have the memories of goldfishes, and so if it didn't happen 2 months ago, I don't remember it.
I don't think it's fair to say some people. I think it's fair to say most people.
Yeah,
And in their defense, we are drinking water through a fire hose right now.
yeah.
So,
There's and that
okay,
we understand.
the trans intersex issue, the working environment issues, the codified gender.
Hmm.
What other loveliness is there?
So they, yeah, I know. I got all these notes.
I mean,
So
we are like on the third bullet of 7 or 8.
yeah. So they are making it where you have to recertify more frequently. So before HR1,
Recertified to receive benefits?
yes. So yes. So before HR1, it was once a year, right? You would do once a year, you'd go and you'd resubmit for uh recertification, and now they've changed it to every 6 months. Or if you want, you can do it even more frequent than that. But the requirement is at least every 6 months.
And so may I just interject that sounds like more labor, more bureaucracy, more
Yes,
people
and
required.
that's not even the best part. The
Oh,
states have to yeah,
there's more.
yeah, the states have to be able to verify compliance with with the work and exemption criteria, or it could affect the match rates. So if it's found that they're not actually keeping track of it the way that they're supposed to, then the federal government is basically like, um, yeah, we're gonna
So for
lower
the
your funding.
states to receive the match for Medicaid, the the state has to be able to prove to the government that they have inspected the records of the recipient for a few months prior to their recertification. So
Yes.
okay.
Oh, and then the final piece, the final part,
Well,
as if it wasn't bad enough.
even more.
There's one more. So before you had, if you're not familiar with the term retroactive coverage, which I'll admit I was not
It's
aware
kind
of
of
what.
self-explanatory, but I'm gonna
Yes,
guess. Is retroactive coverage meaning if it takes us 3 months to get you certified, we're going to cover you back to the day you applied?
yes. So it's coverage. I went and looked it up because I wanted to make sure I was. I said so. It's
And
coverage that
now they
applies to a
won't.
yeah. Yeah, it's coverage that applies to a period of time before the policy was officially purchased or activated.
Of course it is.
Yeah. So that's exactly what you said. And is that like, yeah. So it used to be 3 months. Now it's 1 month.
So if it takes us 3 months to get you certified, oh well,
Yeah. You only get a month.
whatever.
We're only going to cover you for a month ago.
And I think it's also important. I mean, the thing that I found on the sections that I was looking up, which was the tax on tips and the immigration, we are talking about the HR1 bill is stretched out over like a decade. So like some of these stuff, it starts in 2025. Some of this stuff starts like now, but it expires in a few years. I mean, so I think it's
Yes.
important. This is a long-term fuckery in action. And
Yeah.
the cluster of the we oh wait. Oh, Aaron, you gotta watch. The weave.
Yeah.
The weave.
Yeah. Well, and once we get into the tax on tips things, that's the part that I really think people need to pay attention to because I imagine that they're going to use it as an election leverage, right? If you elect me, I'll extend it.
Extend what? Wait
Yeah,
till
they'll
we get to that. Okay,
yeah.
so all
Go
right,
ahead.
we talked about certification, um, retroactive coverage. Have we missed anything? Come on, there's got to be more. Oh,
Um,
oh, uh, the one thing I've heard people talk about was that, oh, they're not going to let undocumented immigrants get Medicaid anymore. And my understanding is they don't get Medicaid, they get emergency Medicaid services, but those are typically provided by the state or what? What did you find out?
yes. So yeah. So uh, because again, high level, I think it's important to understand that there is a difference between an undocumented or what we would call an illegal immigrant versus an asylum seeker, right? Or what are
Yeah.
referred to as lawfully present, which is more than asylum seekers, but it's generally asylum
We
seekers.
need to have an episode that goes over all the different kinds of
Yes.
immigrants.
Yes.
Speaking
So it's important to separate the two because we have a lot of migrants that come here that are what are called lawfully present, meaning that they didn't enter the country through legal means, but they are residing in the country legally.
yeah, I
Yeah. And I think a lot of people get lost because whenever they imagine illegal immigrants, uh, or whenever they imagine migrants in general, they think that they're all undocumented illegal migrants. And it's like, well, no, that's not how that works. But you are correct. They were only ever qualified under what was called the Emergency Medical Treatment and Labor Act, or the EMTALA, which is basically only covered them for life-threatening surgeries, childbirth, trauma care, etc. Right? Like if you're gonna die or you're
yeah,
giving birth,
and I know that the argument has been made, and actually, I did a bunch of research on this, and I can make it available where this may not, we go down rabbit holes all the time, so sorry,
oh
I'm
yeah,
gonna project this here. I did a shit ton of research on what the costs are to apprehend, detain, incarcerate, legal fees, and deport an immigrant compared to what they cost the system annually. And
and if I remember, also how much they brought in via
correct,
taxes. Yeah.
they're actually a net benefit to the bottom line of the United States. And
Yes.
all of this effort is for 11.5 million undocumented immigrants, which are about 3% of the population.
I want every I want everyone to make a note. 11 million, not 64 million like Laura Loomer tweeted out. Okay?
It's actually, I mean, it literally is like, I think it's 11.5 it was 23 or 24.
Yeah.
We're literally talking 3% of the population. All of this fuss, and when we get to the immigration control section, the ungodly amount of money that they're talking about spending to deport 1 million people a year.
Yeah.
1 million. One.
Oh, the last the because we don't have to get all into because we can talk about the migrant Medicaid coverage another time, but the one thing I did want to say is so you're correct that Medicaid didn't cover it. I will I will caveat that there were state programs that were purely state funded that were for non-emergency. So like California had Medi-Cal, New York has one, Colorado, Oregon, Wyoming, Connecticut, and Vermont. All have,
It makes perfect sense because we're
yeah,
talking about the net benefit of immigrants.
right. And and HR1 for all that. I mean, obviously, it said that it just tightened some of the definitions because it was already illegal. So, and they want to be able to say, we're not going to let them have any more. They were trying to take away the emergency. They were trying to take away the emergency, and and basically came down that they weren't allowed to do that. You can't take away emergency care.
Well, that's just,
Oh,
again, the thing that really, mm, I think the thing that disturbs me the most is even from a non-emotional, from a purely logical, statistical perspective, we're talking about measurable numbers. I mean,
yes,
verifiable, measurable numbers. How much
yes,
it costs to deport, capture, detain, however you want to, to catch and release an immigrant, an
right.
undocumented immigrant. And so many of them are documented and, they're here legally or they're going through the process, but that's for another day.
And yeah, and then the much like they're doing with the work requirements, that they're going to start penalizing states that have the state programs, like have the state coverage programs, with reduced federal match rates, as a means to try and get them to roll those programs back.
I want to repeat something because I just think it's so important at this moment. We are literally talking about 11.5 million undocumented immigrants, 3% of the population who have a net benefit monetarily, who demonstrably commit fewer crimes than US citizens. and the amount of effort and energy. Oh, and let's talk about the trans intersex population. One less than 1% of the population. I mean, the amount of effort and energy spent to villainize, victimize, terrorize these groups of people. And then don't forget the Medicaid also, you're terrorizing, victimizing, and villainizing the poor population. So it's like every vulnerable group that you could possibly, oh, and let's not forget the women, were, body autonomy and all that, that the dead woman that they, used as an incubator.
Yep.
And another. So, anything else on the
Yeah,
Medicaid,
yeah, I
Detroit and
mean,
Medicaid?
no, I mean those are the big ones. Again, I have some stuff for like the changes that they made for lawfully present migrants, and the coverage because they were allowed coverage, and now there's changes to that. But we can talk about some of that, I guess, whenever we talk about immigration statuses in general,
Okay.
um, because it's important to know that even if people are here lawfully, whether they're asylum seekers, whether they're HB1, whether they're whatever it is, a lot of them did qualify for Medicaid and now don't, um, because of they implemented a 5-year waiting period. But again, we can.
A five, did you see 5-year waiting period?
Yeah. Okay. So we'll just get into it. So
Yeah,
it
because
was
I did not, I hadn't even
so
heard of that.
so it was before that if you entered the country, whatever means you entered the country, and then you were here as an asylum seeker, that you basically immediately qualified for Medicaid. So that was under the Personal Responsibility and Work Opportunity Act, or the PRWRA. Was like if you came in here and you were an asylum seeker and you were approved for asylum, you were instantly eligible for Medicaid. Um,
Because we want
and
you to be a healthy and productive member of
yeah,
society.
because yeah.
I don't know.
And so what they did now is they implemented a 5-year waiting period, and that extends beyond just that's any green card holders, any refugees.
So people who are here now who have had Medicaid are now not going to have it. And is this retroactive timing, or do you know?
Yeah, so it says that basically if you haven't been here for 5 years, you're gonna lose Medicaid coverage.
Okay. And then you may not know this. So I've been here 4.5 years. So I get it in 6 months, or do I have to start the clock all over?
I do not know.
That would be an
I
interesting
would
question because
I would
there's
think
another
that
layer of bureaucracy there, right?
yeah. Yeah, I would think that I mean, we know they're heartless assholes, but I would think that they would I don't know. I
Ah,
fucking I
you
fucking hate that I can't even predict it because this is the problem. You can't apply logic to illogical things. Like it
correct. I thought you were going to say, well, it would be logical. And then I thought, okay, you just dismissed
yeah, I know. I like
whatever you
defeating
think
my
the
own
logical answer is, it's not going to happen. The
like
exact opposite is going to happen,
I'm
right?
like defeating my argument as I'm presenting
Oh,
it.
yep. You just
Yeah.
because whatever makes sense is what we're not going to be doing.
Yes. Oh, also, they will also be required for the 80-hour a month eligibility. They will be required to maintain that too.
Now, I would suspect if many of the people on Medicaid are already working, they're meeting the requirement. And we didn't touch on how they're changing the dollar amounts, which might make some of these people ineligible because they're
Yeah,
working.
and I
I
and
don't
I
know.
didn't I
Sorry.
didn't get the note. I didn't no, I just didn't I don't have notes on the income
I mean, that's
requirements.
another day. I mean, we could probably talk about the HR1 for 6 months. I mean, this
Yeah.
shit is insane. Okay, so Medicaid, you have talked about the intersex trans effects, the uh working slash community engagement effects, the codified gender and emergency Medicaid, and then the asylum seekers ability. I mean, these are just so top level things.
Yeah.
High level, I should say.
Yeah. Macro,
Uh,
I
Yeah.
because each one of these, I mean, if you deep dive into like the state funded programs, and you deep dive into, because that's the problem is the way that MAGA defines migrants, right? If you,
Here comes Steve.
even if you're lawfully present,
Um,
they're qualifying some of those. They're
I
picking them up on minor charges.
I can't tell you how difficult it is for me to explain to a MAGA that being here illegally is the equivalent of a parking ticket.
Yeah, it's a civil,
Civil, it's not a criminal violation.
right?
When I said it's not a criminal offense, they lose their mind. Of course it is. I said, no, it's a civil offense. It's like getting a parking ticket.
It's something that you would tack onto a larger crime, right?
Yeah,
If you
I'm
hold up a liquor store and then it turns out that you also entered the country, illegally, then they're gonna, hit you for the liquor store, and then they're also going to tack on.
if you go to a liquor store.
No, 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 no. If you were to rob a liquor store,
Oh,
I'm just giving it
sorry. They're
like
checking on your immigration status.
yes,
Well, here's
yes.
something I'm going to link to the research I posted about the net benefit of immigrants. I'm gonna
Right.
I'm gonna put that in the show page. Okay, well, let's move on. So many things. Okay, so I did a little research on immigration and how the HR1, the changes, and this is so um top level, high level, macro, as to be ridiculous, but there's just so much.
Hmm.
Biggest thing I think is important to know is that the funding for enforcement and border security prior to the HR1 was about $36 million. And the new budget for the next 10 years is 170 billion. So it's an increase of 100, it's six times. It's a six times increase. So it's from 34 million to uh, I'm sorry, 36 billion to 170 billion. And basically they're going to hire 10,000 new agents, 5,000 customs officers, and 3,000 I don't know what a CBP is, Country Border Patrol. Is that what that stands for? CBP?
Yeah, yeah. And when I think that is just Border Patrol, right?
And they're
Like
wanting
what
to
we would call.
triple the amount of detention center space. They have $46.5 billion for the border wall. And what was the other one that just, oh, and $10 billion to reimburse Department of Homeland Security for whatever. Kristi Noem's blown through her budget, so I guess she needed more money.
Yeah,
Um,
do you know what the because this has come up a lot in my military circles. Do you know what the budget is? Because I was in the Marines, so of course that's what I'm going to talk about. You know what the budget for the Marine Corps is?
mm,
So the Marine Corps is a department of the Navy. And they are like, this fighting force that MAGA and Trump, they just love using and abusing the Marines for their own reasons.
right.
Um, so the Marine Corps budget itself is a part of the Navy, and the Navy's budget is about 292 billion. The Marine Corps' budget is 57.2 billion of that. So ICE essentially has a
3.5 times what the Marines get.
yeah.
Well, and here's another some more. I mean, again, I can't emphasize enough the math. We're talking about this monstrous budget with a goal, the top level goal from the administration is to deport 1 million immigrants a year. And I'm so
I just
flabbergasted
hear your brain just overloading.
flabbergasted that I have to even have this conversation. But during Obama's presidency, he was deporting, 1 to 3 million a year with a significantly smaller budget. So the fact that this budget has to be increased to this level, it just speaks to such ludicrous lack of oversight for how this is being handled. Not to mention, there was one thing I checked on. Okay, I did I did an analysis, and I will confess I had AI double check my thing, but based on the review of historical evidence, the budgets, that there is zero evidence-based support for the argument that this funding is going to make any measurable difference in the number of people that are, typically being deported every year.
I mean, I can see that because they blew through their budget. I mean, within the first 6 months,
I
they
don't even
blew
think they
through it.
deported 100. They haven't even deported 100,000 people as far as, I mean,
Right.
they've
Like
deported some people, but then they've had to bring them back, and the
the
legal.
amount of people, yeah, the amount of people that they deported versus the budget that they blew through. And yeah, we sorry. Whenever the reason why, okay, I watch a lot of political commentary from people I like, from people I don't like. I
Yeah,
just
you
watch as much as I
have a
can.
stomach for that.
Okay. Um, and I definitely take breaks. Trust me, I'm not like sitting over here just brain rotting away all
I have
day,
to
every
take a
day.
shower and brush my. I mean, I
Yeah.
was like, oh,
But before the election, uh, Pierce Morgan would have people on and they would argue about how like, we're talking about deporting these people and how it's going to be like, it's a waste of time, it's a waste of money. There's the way that they wanted to do it is not smart, and that's all proven true. And the argument that Pierce Morgan would always come back with was, well, Obama, he deported 12 million people whenever he was president.
yeah, but
And
he
it's
did it
like,
legally, and he did it.
yes.
Okay, and here's the important thing. I did just find the number based on some research. From January 1st to June 11th of this year, taking into the account, and I'm telling you, the Department of Homeland Security, ICE, um, White House articles, you cannot get a straight answer. Okay, so I'm taking the mean slash average is about 106,463 people have been deported from January
And
to
they already ate through that budget.
now. That's 100,000. Let's just round it down. 100,000 people. And that's how many have been deported. But let's talk about, the legal fees, bringing people back. I mean,
So it's worth noting all this, and I didn't mean to derail Sword. It's
no,
worth noting all this because it's like I think people just don't like we're these the budget hawks were like well they gave up obviously, but at this
that's
that
why,
was the
no,
problem.
but that's why they Doge had to knock all that money off that other end so that they could spend it at this end. And if you think about how much money, I mean, let's be honest, if you think about how much money, and I don't have the answer, how much money they've blown through Department of Homeland Security and ICE for 106,000. I gotta write that down on this page. 106,463 people. You need to find out how much they've blown through, and we'll figure out how much that costs per person.
Yeah, I'd have to go look up what the original budget was, but I know that it was or wait, you have the original budget. It was originally 46 or
Oh,
no,
30,
that's
it was
different.
36
30.
million. 36
Uh,
million. Was
yeah,
that
so they ate yeah, yeah. Yeah, they ate through that. It's gone. That money is spent.
wait, Jesus. Okay. One, two,
Um, but I'm looking. I pulled up your notes because I want to help.
four, six.
So you talked about
That's 375,717 dollars per person. That can't be right. 100. Sorry, you go on. Sorry.
no, it's okay. Because so you talked about the massive funding increase. Uh, we talked about. I think you mentioned this, the enforcement expansion and interior operations,
Yeah.
which I
Oh,
notice. Oh, I guess we didn't get to this because I see here there's a thing where it's talking about they want to hire more immigration judges and support staff.
oh, yeah. Sorry. So we're talking about what are we on? I'm
I'm
sorry.
I'm it's okay. So we were just talking about the massive funding increase
Yeah.
because it looks which I think you went over, they're talking about the physical barrier increases. They're talking about increasing the detention capacity, which includes that place in Florida that MAGA's getting pictures at.
Right. Right.
And then yeah, I see, or I guess the last bullet is,
So yeah, the other thing about the immigration fees, is that what you're talking about?
um, yeah, I mean, sorry, I'm trying to get back to where we're, because I didn't have your notes when you started. I was just listening.
Oh, so I was talking
Um,
about massive funding boost. So that's the first bullet point.
mhm,
Talking about the detention capacity scaled up, the border wall paid, and
right.
the deportation logistics, and that's reimbursing Department of Homeland Security. But then 30 billion of that is for covering raids, deportation flights, and reimbursements. But all of these subsections fall into that massive funding. So it's 170 billion. I have to keep saying billion.
Yes.
160 billion allocated over the next decade. And then it's divided up under these subsections. And I think what makes me crazy is you've got people who come into the country who are working, adding to the net income, net benefit of their stay here. But if you have $5 million, it doesn't matter if you're a drug cartel or if you're a human trafficker, or if you're some sort of a white collar crime person, you can buy yourself one of those, I don't know if that's
Boom. Golden
privilege.
ticket. Golden.
Golden
I don't
ticket.
know.
It
Yeah.
just goes to show, where we are.
Um, yeah. And I mean, so I see they also are going to allocate money to more judges. The reason I mentioned the judges is because one of the biggest talking points that I've heard from our side of the aisle, the more left-leaning side, is that if we could increase the amount of judges, then we could potentially speed up the asylum seeking process. I don't think that that's
I
the
want you to,
goal.
but hear what you just said. We're going to pay more money to approve people staying here that we would have let stay anyway.
Yeah.
They were going through.
That's what's saying. I don't think that's the goal that because they're
I'm
talking
thinking
about faster
they're not going to be hiring
adjudications.
the kind of judges that would be doing it.
Yeah, yeah. I was just
So the other thing
it's
is
like whenever you read a thing and you're like, wow, that sounds like a really good idea if anybody but this administration was doing it, because it's
anybody.
the intent. Yeah,
Right.
because it's the intent behind it that's different versus if yeah.
Yeah, and so okay, so we talked about the analysis, the structural breakdown. ICE alone is going to end up with more funding than the FBI, the DEA, and ATF combined.
Yep.
Little math that might be it's
It's because they hired all those Proud Boys. They got to pay them.
a 220% increase for
That's
baseline.
a joke. I don't know if they actually did that. Sorry
Yeah,
to interrupt you.
right.
Go ahead.
It's a 220% increase over baseline funding. Um, it's just off the chain for me.
Yeah,
Okay, so here's
it's
the track record of low return on investment, because I think it's important. Okay, we're talking about what was in the HR1, but I want to talk about the net, like the detriment here. During the previous Trump administration, despite aggressive immigration policies, the undocumented population remained pretty much the same. The border apprehension surged, but deportations did not keep pace with the number of people coming in. And then even if we're talking about what happened in subsequent administrations, we're still talking about a proportionate, a relatively proportionate number of undocumented immigrants to the US population. And we're still talking about the net benefit and the documented lower crime rate. And I don't understand why people who have access to all the information
because
in the world,
they hear or read a story and then
Fox News says,
yeah, because I mean, like, there have been the cases in which like American citizens were killed by, I don't even know if they were undocumented, but they were killed by migrants, and then those were used as like the front page of like, see, this is why we need to get these people out of our
I
country.
had a bad boyfriend once who I did get one good thing out of that relationship. This kind of stuff makes my nuts ache. This is like the best phrase ever. Here's one thing that I want to close out this particular conversation with. What bothers me about this $170 billion investment is that it 8 times what is allocated for vocational retraining, 4 times housing assistance, and it exceeds the entire discretionary education budget. And there is no path to citizenship in the bill, and there is no investment in modernizing either the asylum system, visa processing, or the root cause of why we have this going on. And so it is such a reactionary, knee-jerk, fear-based, hate,
Yeah.
hate-funded bill. I just
It reminds and because one thing that I want to point out, because I know that anybody watching this who is in support of these policies is going to say, well, we just had that month where there were no crossings. And you remember whenever I told you that I went and looked that up, and it was like, well, it wasn't that we didn't have any crossings, because we still had crossings. It was just that like they just detained all of them. They didn't, and MAGA was trying to use that as like, no migrants came into the country, and it was like, I mean, they did. They just weren't released. Like they still came in. Um, I just I under I got
I will say MAGA still looks at that as a win.
yeah, I know.
And
Because I just know that's going to come back because you pointed out that they had a surge of apprehensions, but that the deportations didn't keep up, and that's why there was like this
it's
problem. And
it's visuals, it's optics.
yeah,
And
it's always
I mean the horrific apprehensions that they did at that farm that was televised, where you're seeing them tear parents away from their children or children away from their parents, and
it was a pot farm.
not
Sorry, go ahead.
give a flying fuck what it was. And there were no warrants. It was literally just kidnappings, and
Yeah.
it's horrific to watch, and we can't be silent. Okay. And another thing, I got two to your one, but I know you've got a thing or two to say about this one.
Yeah.
So tax on tips, I'm just going to do super high level. And I just, so many things.
I
Is
feel that.
I think the biggest thing I want to say is the, again, I'm going to focus on my notes, that it is so important to note that the average person that this applies to um, makes about $26,000 a year. And this is like not, let me see if I can find it. Here it is. The median income for tipped workers is between $17,000 and $26,000 a year. And the line is about $25,000. Under that, you can take this $15,000 a year deduction. Basically, you're not paying taxes anyway, at all, zero. And so, assuming that you were honest, because this only applies to cash tips, and
That's
so
the other thing. That's the other thing that no.
those are
Sorry.
historically underreported or not reported, that let's say you did claim it, you might save $150. Maybe.
Yeah.
But you have to be above that $25,000 threshold and have deducted just the right amount. So
And
it has nothing to
it
do with your payroll taxes.
right.
You're still going to pay your 7.65% in Social Security and Medicare taxes. The only people I'm trying to find, okay, what's the argument here? I found a case scenario. Are you ready?
Okay, I'm ready. And only because I promised you that when I was first reading through this, I was like, this doesn't like it to me. It was just so they had a talking point. It was just so they could get people that might not vote for it, that might not be interested in it. It was so they could get them on board to support it. But then you would go and read, and you're like, are people actually going to benefit? Sorry,
Yeah,
let me
no,
hear the
no,
scenario.
this absolutely, there is no strong reason to believe that this benefit is actually going to, and I did make some notes about this, but here is a scenario that I found. I mean, again, you and I have talked to a few attorneys, we've talked to some financial experts. A bartender who worked in a who works a bartender working in a luxury resort who might be earning 75 to $100,000 a year in declared tips might get a couple $1,000s in deductions, especially if they itemize. That's all I could find. Now, here are some
I want everybody to imagine the bartender that's work.
I,
Sorry.
the
Tell
ludicrousness.
me, Mom, how many bartenders have
So
you met?
I did try and talk to some
Sorry,
people
go ahead.
who are not MAGA, but they're MAGA leaning. Like,
Hmm.
what is the point here? It frames it's a symbolic and a morale booster. It gives these workers a psychological sense of relief, even if the financial benefit is modest. Um,
Or non-existent. Sorry.
Bartenders, stylists, and casino workers who earn $50,000 in tips. Like, do we know anybody anywhere who does like
And well, and I think it's also important. Cash
cash
tips.
tips? This is, I mean, the ludicrousness of some of these responses that I got from people. Um, so for 60 to set, the estimate is based on wage details that I could get from the Bureau of Labor Statistics from 2023, the IRS tax thresholds, and some macroeconomic modeling because my brain was melting at this point. We're talking about 65% of tipped workers. For 65% of tipped workers, the tax deduction is going to provide little or no tangible benefit. The top 20 to 30% of people who are are working in a tipped field, they might save 500 to $2,000 a year. But again, we're talking about 100, 150, 2,000,
Yeah.
200,000. And at
And
150,000, I think is the cap for this. Let me look.
right. Yeah, no, that sounds right.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
and the thing I always every time I read over it and you hit on this and I want to make sure that we bring it
Yeah,
all the way
yeah,
back
yeah.
around is cash tips.
Cash tip.
So think about all the times that you've gone and ordered food at a restaurant and they bring you your bill out and they put it in front of you and now on the receipt they'll even have,
How much?
10%,
How much the tip?
15%, 20%, and then you just write that. I double check it because sometimes our computers are wonky, but then you write that number in and then you total it
And,
and then
and you also
that
make
tip,
sure that they didn't add the tax in some or the tip in somewhere else.
right? But and this is but and
You're
it's
not
important
tipping
though.
in cash.
Yeah, yeah, that tip that you gave them does not qualify for the no tax on
Correct.
tips because it's
So
not
here
a cash tip.
and
So,
here's like I think the big question that we have to ask and that people have to ask. Because I want to I wrote this down. Ta-da.
okay, yeah,
Does this actually change? Is this no tax on tips provision that we've just done this high level summary of? Is it actually going to change the financial reality of these historically low wage earners? No. And it goes into effect, let me get this right. It goes into effect this year, but it's only for 3 years through
yeah.
2028. It is not permanent. I mean, not that it matters because it has zero effect for 70% of the
But yeah, yeah, and they're gonna and like I said, the reason. And look at it this. They extended the Trump's tax changes from his first term that were set to expire this year.
yeah.
Now those are permanent. But the tax on tips, which again, we've given the very
Yeah.
stringent means by which you can actually benefit from it. That ends in 2028. Why wouldn't they make that permanent? Because they're going to try and use it for the election.
It'll take 3 years for people to figure out it has no effect.
Yeah. So,
Well, these are the three big ones that we said we were going to talk about today.
yeah.
And I think the summary here is, uh, as it relates to Medicaid, these don't go into effect for 2 years. We're going to keep talking about these things. And we're going to keep talking about, I'd love to have a show where we talk about, I know there's 468 people going to be running for reelection, but I want to talk about the contested seats maybe. We need to be pushing and amplifying the Democrats who are running against Republicans
Yes.
big time.
Yeah, because after the bill passed, I think we were all pretty shook. Pissed off is probably if you were paying attention, because some people I can understand. We live in a busy age, and I cannot, as much as my friends and other people like to bitch about it, I only stay in tune with these things because like this is important to me.
Yeah.
And even though most of these things, most I won't say none of them, most of them don't affect me at all. They have no
This is why we have to speak up. Most of these are not going to affect us
right.
at all. I have to be honest. None of the Medicaid stuff affects me directly.
Yeah,
None of the trans intersex stuff affects me directly. None of that. I mean,
yeah,
and certainly, um, the tax on tips doesn't affect me. The immigration doesn't affect me, but we have to speak up for the people who can't.
yeah,
And we have to stand up for these marginalized communities. I would not be able to look my grandkids in the face and I mean, we're not just doing this. I think it's important
yeah,
that we like to close each episode by reminding people there are so many things that you can do. I mean, there's so many things going on, but there are so many things that you can be doing. My big ones,
yes.
the 5 calls uh, app. Aaron actually does that sometimes here on the show. We also support, encourage you to be involved with the Indivisible organization, which is people meeting in person. And that's if you're that kind of person that likes to join with others, the Indivisible guide tells you how to do that. And I downloaded that thing, and it's pretty good.
Yeah. That was actually how I how I got tuned into the No Kings protest I went to.
Yeah. Oh, and those videos.
Yeah, good
Videos.
stuff.
The other thing that I find to be super cool, I think is probably the best word, is the card campaign. They create and you download and print on your own machine cards that they're called leave behind. So you can leave it like you go to get your oil change, you leave it on a table. They're informative, they're educational, they dispel myths. They also give you cards that you can print to share to mail to your representatives. They have a lot of resources. So the 5 calls or ResistBot, those are both apps you can use on your phone.
And I know you mentioned it. Did you say what ResistBot does? Because
Is it different than 5 calls? Well, I didn't
no.
really see what they do. No, why don't you talk about what 5 calls does?
So 5 calls, and I don't know if this will work now because I used to have an issue with the exposure on my camera, so you couldn't see my screen. But
Correct.
maybe you guys will be able to see it now, and I can show you how it works or what it looks like.
And
Can you?
oh, I can see your screen. I can't really see it.
Hey.
I
Okay,
can
sorry.
see
Yeah,
it clearly, but
you can see it a little better.
you're gonna
So
have to do, maybe you can do screenshots and we make a PowerPoint or something and we can.
yeah. So basically, whenever you open up the app, it shows your calls. It shows all the things that you can call for. Like it gives you topics that you can like if there's a topic that you already know that you want to talk about, it's generally on here. If you know what you want to talk about, you don't need the topic. That's okay too. So, for example, there's one on here that says like demand the immediate release of billions in K to 12 funding. You can call this, and it gives you kind of like an overview and a script that you can follow if you want, where it gives the full breakdown, and then at the bottom it shows all your representatives. And then all you got to do is tap what
Because sometimes you need to call your congressperson and sometimes you need to call your state rep and sometimes you need to call your House of Representatives
I
rep.
don't know that this does state. I've
Oh,
not I've
okay.
not tried. I know who my state rep is, but I've not used 5 calls
Maybe
for
not.
that.
So maybe it's
Uh,
your House and Congressman, but that's still
yeah, yeah. So
okay.
like it shows a representative and then both my senators. Now
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah.
No, that's okay.
And then whenever you click on them, that's when it gives you the script and it says, like it gives you like you could just read it off. And then it even gives you the phone number, and then you just push that and it calls it. And it also gives you the local office. So if you don't, so if you can call their Washington office, or you can call their local office. I mention this every time we talk about it. The offices for the representatives and senators, it closes at 7. So, and if you call after 7, there you will be able to leave a voicemail. Make sure that if this is just in case you don't want to talk to people, because we've talked about that before. Some people don't want to get on the phone and talk to a person, and that's
And
okay.
that's,
You can still call.
that's for people like you and I, we don't have a problem with it.
Right.
But for people who are non-confrontational, who feel anxious about it, who just don't want to fuck with it, you can call after, before or after hours, and you don't have to talk to anybody. But by calling, they don't have to record your emails. They do have to record the phone calls. And that's
Yes.
why we push and push and push for the phone calls.
Yes. And if you the only note that I would put on that, because that is if you call after hours, make you do have to leave your full address because otherwise they won't save the recording. I'm not sure. To me, I think it has something to do with when they answer the phone. Maybe it automatic like whenever you dial the police, whatever. I think whenever like they answer the phone, it automatically records your location, like your address or whatever, and
Mhm.
like that's how they're able to verify it whenever somebody answers the phone. But when someone doesn't answer the phone and you leave a voicemail, you have to leave your whole address, or I think they can delete the recording. I
You
just
know
remember
what?
looking that up.
I think
So,
it's important. I
and
think,
Five Calls actually says that.
yeah, I think it's important to do it as closely to what's required as possible because you want your call to matter.
Yes.
So Five
Um,
Calls does that. ResistBot probably operates the exact same way. Indivisible lets you hook up with your community. Then we have the card campaign that lets you print things. Again, a lot of these are very low key. 5501 is about protests and it gives you a lot of information on how to protest, where to go. I think other things that we don't talk about a lot are, if you just aren't, none of these resonate with you, make signs for people who will protest, bake cookies for people who are going to go to these meetings, offer to go to your local Democratic, representative and say, hey, can I file? Can I pass things out? Can I lick stamps? I mean, whatever. So there's a lot of ways to resist. There's a lot of
yes.
ways to um, fight the good fight, I guess is the phrase that I want to use here.
Yes, and I thank you for mentioning it because that's the thing I hit on like every time. I imagine that there are people that want to do something, but maybe you're just feeling a little nihilistic. Maybe whatever it is. Um, I would just encourage you to find something. There is nothing too small for you to do as long as it is in the to the effort of your own resistance, right? Like,
Absolutely.
um, we had Josh on. Josh, if you ever watched the episode, you should. It's a great episode where he walks down the Supreme Court ruling. But one of the things that he said to us after the call, he might have said it on the show, was that he was so grateful that we brought him on because it allowed him to resist. That was like his form of resistance, was being able to come on and talk about that. And so it's like I love hearing stuff like that for me because it's like people guilt themselves too much. You feel like, well, if I can't go out and protest, why does it matter? Because there's other things you can
Reminds
do.
me, like this reminds me of speakers who say, climb that mountain, do that thing, the big thing. And so people think that the only stuff that matters is the big stuff. And that there is nothing that could be further from the truth. It doesn't matter. I think you could go to card campaign, print off 10 cards, leave them in the sneakiest possible way, and you just did something really important.
Yeah.
And so we always encourage you to share ideas with us, but we share the biggest ones with you. And so I think other than that, I'm sort of out of gas on this
Yeah.
stupid bill.
Yeah, I know it is.
Big dumb
I
thing bill.
I've started calling it the big bogus bill because because I wasn't uncomfortable with the big bullshit bill, but I did kind of feel like it I wanted to be able to
Better
engage with it
because
more civically
yeah, I like
or
bogus
civilly,
better.
excuse me.
No, I like bogus better. I mean,
Yeah.
I hate calling it by anything. I mean, I think the most embarrassing thing, one of one of the most embarrassing things is that is literally the name on the bill.
It is called, for those that don't know, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act.
Yeah.
That is in the Library of Congress. That is forever a historically accurate
I mean,
name for the
I think
document.
that's the thing for me is can we
I'm laughing because otherwise I'd cry.
oh, well, that's come on, you gotta get down. That's kind of how I feel about it. So, all
Hmm.
right. Well, I think this was pretty productive. What I really like about us picking these subtopics is that we have to do our research.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and it keeps us on topic and let's for me, it lets me get a little more passionate because like you have all this information and then having to actually structure it and make it readable and kind of more or less like giving a lecture on it, I guess. I feel like it helps me.
Well, you know what's so interesting is I think one of the things I used to tell people is I loved teaching about different behavioral and communication concepts because I had to learn it to teach it.
Right?
So you and I have to become familiar with it to be able to have these conversations. So I like
Yeah.
it. So I think next week we're going to pick three more things and because there's so many things in this.
So many things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
we
but I did make a
yeah,
note.
hopefully we'll see once we get derailed with something else this week.
Well, I was going to say, I made a note that we need to have an episode to talk about the types of immigrants. I think immigration is just super important, but what bothers me is we're having to spend time on the same stupid thing that's only 11, it's 3% of the population. Can we please talk about what the other 97% needs?
Yeah. And then one other thing, I don't know where it's going. I saw that today there is the someone in the House is trying to put a bill up to force the release of the Epson files.
I did see that, and I think the point of that it's for optics. They're going to make people vote no, which would then put them in a bad light. Oh, you voted no. Well, why don't, I don't know that it's actually gonna
Oh, like they did with that other
make
bill.
anybody do it anyway, can they?
Yeah, where they wanted to table, yeah, where they tabled the impeachment and everybody was mad that they tabled the impeachment. Do you remember that? This was I
Yeah, it's the Democrats.
yeah.
I fully supported them tabling the impeachment and but you can't win. I mean, if there's a graphic that's perfect. I mean,
Yeah, the
they
bottom is just fuck the Democrats.
fuck the
Yes, it's
Democrats because could they have done it? Yes. Should they have done it? Yes. Fuck the Democrats. I mean, it doesn't.
yeah, it's just like yeah, it's that I've seen that. I've seen that one. And
And
it's
I do need to make a comment here, and I think it's important. If we're kind of wrong, we were talking about how much the budget was and how much it cost to deport each of those 106,000 immigrants.
mhm.
Let's assuming that they blew through $40 million. They deported 106,000 immigrants for $375 each.
Jesus. Your American tax dollars well spent, America.
I will say that, I mean, you can't say that's bad. I mean, 375, 300, it's $375 times 106,000 immigrants comes to $39,750,000. Yeah, I
I
hate, I
mean,
I hate to be wrong, but we were.
yeah, I mean, but okay, so to the point that she made before, though, if it's costing us that much per person to send them out, how much are we making keeping them here? So,
We could be sending them out for free. I mean, and we're still losing money on this
yeah.
deal. So
And now we're losing more money. So anyway, that's why I said your text.
I mean, I think the issue here is we're spending all of this money on 3% of the population.
Yeah.
And if you factor in the transgendered, the LGBTQ plus, I always want to be respectful, but I always feel like I get that wrong. Let's just round it up, 5% of the population. between,
Yeah.
the immigrants and the LGBTQ plus community, 5% of the population is getting all of our efforts and energy in a negative way.
Yeah.
How could this possibly
Because
make sense?
because well, and it's that's how fascism works. You got to pick the enemy.
It's not, I will say it's not, I mean, yes, it's fascism, but it is a platform of hate and fear that is unsupportable. It's just
Yeah.
unacceptable and unsupportable. And if you really want to know how Aaron and I feel about it, all you have to do is ask.
Yeah. Follow us on Threads. You'll see exact or follow me on Twitter. I'm a little more brutal on Twitter.
Yeah.
Um,
And I'm
but
brutal everywhere. So
yeah.
please follow us. Please connect with us. You can find me on Facebook and Threads, and Aaron is on Blue Sky and Threads and Twitter. And then
Yeah.
we're here every week to entertain you. At the very least, we entertain ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel it makes me think it's of the gladiator scene. Are you not entertained? Because we're just on here, just melt like crashing out.
Yeah. I mean, we said it at the beginning, and I think we mean it even more now. We don't care if anybody's watching because we entertain ourselves here. So,
Yeah.
all right. Are you not entertained? All right. Well, until we get together again, folks, bye for now.